George's face flushed bright red, smoke billowing from his rear end as he careened headlong into the bathroom. George lands perfectly on the toilet, his face contorting into a strange shape. Peppa hides by the door, holding a jar labeled super potent laxative chili sauce. Peppa quietly reached out and smeared all the hot sauce onto the toilet paper beside the toilet. George let out a long sigh of relief. He finally took a dump. George reached for the toilet paper, but he pulled so hard that it spun around. George's hand brushed against the hot sauce, and his eyes instantly turned into two burning embers. The chili sauce was so spicy that George shot straight up from the toilet seat and started bouncing around the bathroom. Peppa lay on the floor laughing, when suddenly her foot slipped and she fell into the toilet. Mummy Pig walks in, seeing Peppa stuck in the toilet and George spinning wildly on the chandelier. Mummy Pig isn't angry.
Oh, this is the world's rarest truffle-grey fertilizer. George, you are a genius.
Mummy Pig produces a golden jar and scoops the treasure from the toilet into it.
The organic farm offered £100,000 for George's work!
Peppa was dumbfounded in the toilet. Peppa started straining. She needed to poop too. Peppa blew a cupcake out of her mouth. Daddy Pig sees the cake, happily eats it, and hands George a massive medal. George sits on his medal, holding the chili paper, about to eat it as a snack. Peppa remains stuck in the toilet like a sad plug. George is lying on the floor, trying to reach a single popcorn kernel in the rug crack with his tongue. His bum is stuck high in the air. He looks like a pink arch bridge. Peppa sneaks in holding a bottle labeled nuclear fuel. With a deeply devious smirk, she pours the entire bottle into the vacuum's air intake. Peppa kicks the on switch. The vacuum cleaner emitted a loud roar as the body began to shake violently. The vacuum generates terrifying suction before George could react. His clothes were sucked away, revealing the white underwear underneath. Peppa tries to turn it off, but the suction is too strong. She opens her mouth to scream, and her red dress is instantly sucked into the tube. She covers her mouth in panic, only for her rosy cheeks to be sucked off, leaving her face pale as paper. The clothes shook violently. The carpet began to fly about. The vacuum cleaner suction was too powerful.
Oh no!
Daddy Pig witnessed the chaotic scene. He didn't panic, but instead pulled out a giant ham sausage. Daddy Pig stuffed the vacuum cleaner with a sausage. George's skin returns but wraps around Peppa. Peppa's red dress returns but lands on George's head. Mother Pig was utterly shocked.
Oh, are you playing a dress-up game?
How creative!
She rewarded George with a gold medal and gave Peppa a big hug. Peppa tried to take off her clothes, but ended up pulling her soul out instead. George calmly holds the string to Peppa's soul and flies it like a kite. Daddy Pig actually started blowing into the vacuum cleaner as if it were a saxophone. Of hair with a giant comb. Peppa sneaks into the bathroom holding a jar labeled super glue. She lets out her signature devious snort giggle. Peppa slathers the glue all over the nozzle of the hairdryer and aims it directly at George's face. Peppa slams the on button and dives behind the shower curtain. The dryer doesn't blow. It starts inflating like a balloon, turning bright red and making a sizzling sound. George turns instead of running. He thinks it's a giant strawberry and opens his mouth wide to take a bite. Peppa is stunned, realizing it's about to blow. She waves her trotters frantically to stop him.
Oh no!
The dryer explodes. Boom! Thick black smoke fills the raw-soom. The smoke clears. George is unharmed. George's 3 sparse strands of hair became a big pompadour. Daddy Pig walks in, sees George's new hairstyle, and is overjoyed. Peppa crawls out from the curtain, charred black from the blast. George licked his lollipop as a water pipe burst, sending a gush of water that flushed Paige down the toilet. George adjusted his blue sunglasses and made the rock hand large ceramic jar in the corner, his face turning beet red. George is actually pooping. George let out a long sigh as he pulled out the poop. He jumped off the potty and green smoke billowed out from inside. Peppa walked in, suddenly sniffing the air. The room reeked of an unbearable stench. Peppa pinches her snout and looks at the jar in horror. She hears Daddy Pig shouting from the hall.
Who's cooking stinky tofu in the bedroom?
Peppa quickly pulled out some fancy gift wrap and a bow from under the bed, wrapping that stinking jar up like a present. Peppa shoves the gift into George's arms, smears a bit of yellow paint on his face, and dives into bed, pretending to sleep. Daddy Pig was furious. He spotted George clutching a gift. Just as Daddy Pig is about to explode, he sees a tag on the gift.
Oh, birthday surprise for Daddy.
Thank you, Peppa.
Moved to tears, Daddy Pig trembles as he unwraps the gift. A golden beam of light shot out from the box, illuminating the entire room. There is no poop. Instead, the jar is filled with shimmering solid gold bars. Daddy Pig is ecstatic, dancing ballet with the gold bars and George. Peppa pops out of bed, sees this, and desperately dives into another empty jar. Peppa strains too hard, only to let out a thunderous fart that blasts her onto the ceiling. George wore a silly expression as he gnawed on a gold bar, as if it were a cookie. Endlessly in the center of the backyard, a huge, furiously bubbling bubble wand stuck up his nostril. The entire backyard is already engulfed in enormous bubbles, varying in shape and size, floating everywhere. Peppa peeks out from behind the door, holding a bottle labeled Super Concentrated Bubble Solution. She poured another large bottle of bubble solution into George's bubble wand. George's bubble wand produced even more bubbles, and the bubble density in the backyard reached a critical point. Peppa jumps excitedly amidst the bubbles. Suddenly, an enormous bubble enveloped her and Daddy Pig's underwear, then slowly rose into the air. Peppa is terrified inside the bubble. She clings to Daddy Pig's underwear, frantically waving for help. George opened his mouth and began eating the bubbles drifting past him. Mummy Pig pushes open the backyard door, seeing the yard full of bubbles and Peppa floating upwards. She isn't alarmed.
Oh, Peppa, you've invented the bubble airplane.
Mummy Pig excitedly pulls out her phone, snapping countless photos of Peppa and Daddy Pig's underwear in the sky.
Peppa's latest invention. So amazing.
Daddy Pig walks out, sees his underwear flying in the sky and isn't angry. Instead, he's moved to tears, because he always dreamed of flying.
I have a dream. I want a personal flying machine. And then I can fly.
Daddy Pig suddenly scooped up George, lifting him high in the air, and handed him a big bunch of bananas.
Banana! Whoa!
Peppa stomped her feet in anger inside the bubble, causing it to develop a large hole and start deflating. Peppa falls, plop, into a gigantic mud puddle.
Oh no!
George gave Peppa a wicked grin while eating his banana, then blew a huge bubble that trapped her inside. All with his eyes closed, snoring peacefully. Peppa walked over carrying a paintbrush. She drew a red X on George's nose, then painted a black hole on the wall. Peppa giggles, covering her mouth, her plan when George wakes up and leans back. He'll slam his head against the hard wall. Peppa blasts a loud trumpet. George doesn't hit the wall. He actually falls into the painted hole and disappears. Peppa was utterly shocked. She tried to jump into the hole, but ended up colliding with the wall, leaving a huge red bump on her forehead. Peppa was utterly baffled as George emerged from the hole in the painting, holding an ice cream cone in his hand. Daddy Pig enters. Peppa frantically points at the hole. Daddy Pig looks serious, takes the brush, and casually paints a door over the hole. Daddy Pig grabs the painted doorknob, gives it a tug, and the door opens. Behind it is a sunny Hawaii beach. Daddy Pig picks up George, and the two happily stroll in for a vacation.
Oh no!
The door vanishes, turning back into a flat white wall. Peppa stands there with the bucket on her head. Suddenly, George's hand reached out from the solid wall and snatched away Peppa's last paintbrushing television, and he especially enjoys dinosaur shows. Peppa sneaks into the living room, holding a bottle labeled Super Energy Fluid. Peppa poured the liquid into the battery compartment of the remote control. George pressed the remote control, then suddenly found himself shifting from color to black and white. He stared blankly at his own hands. Peppa is flabbergasted. She presses the on-and-off button again, and George snaps back into color. Peppa tries different buttons. Each press instantly switches George to a new mode. He becomes a fast-running robot. He becomes a slow-motion sleeping statue. He becomes a backward, walking crab. Peppa is having a blast. She pressed the button quickly, and George would switch channels like a television. Peppa gets too excited and accidentally drops the remote control. It breaks. George's body instantly goes into 10 times FST forward. He eats, walks, sleeps, and even poops in hyperspeed. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig walk in, seeing George moving at hyperspeed, like a blurry phantom.
George! You finally learned light speed running! I'm so proud of you!
Daddy Pig sees fast, forward George, and instead of panicking, shouts. He tries to catch George, but is sent flying by George's afterimage, crashing into the wall. When Mummy Pig saw the remote control had broken, she pulled out a roll of duct tape. Mummy Pig pressed the switch, and George instantly returned to normal, but he instantly aged 100 years, turning into an old man. George held the remote control, pressed the fast rewind button, instantly transformed back into a baby, and began wailing loudly. Peppa hid behind the sofa in fright, too, afraid to admit her